Hi there, thanks for joining me. So today I decided to build 4 rooms inspired by the Hogwarts houses. And I know, everyone's done this, I've seen it done before. I'm not really trying to be unique or anything, I really like Harry Potter and I just wanted to do it, so sue me. But, the funny thing is, in real life, genuinely, I proper bum Harry Potter, which is British speak for I love it. But for some reason, everyone is really surprised when I say this. In fact, I would say I'm actually quite a bit of a nerd, but that seems to really shock some of the people around me. It makes me wonder how people perceive me from the outside, because I've always thought that I came across as a bit of a geek with a slightly pompous and flamboyant demeanour. Demeanour, is that the word? But maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm secretly a geek with the exterior of the millennials' answer to Ali G. Who knows? But for some reason it surprises people when they find out I really like Harry Potter, but I'm not ashamed of it. I love it. I think it started when I was at school, when I was in year 3, so that would put me at about 7 or 8. We used to have, obviously we studied English, and I think my English teacher, she definitely found a loophole there. She was pretty clever. For our English lessons, we just sat and read Harry Potter. The first book, the second book, and the third book, one after the other. I don't know how she managed to wing that, but that was pretty clever. This was clearly her her way of just wanting to get the book read, and she clearly just spent more time wanting to read Harry Potter than actually plan her lessons. But you know what, I'm not going to complain because I was pretty happy with that. So it started when I was at school. This is the Slytherin Room, by the way, in case you can't tell. I didn't use CC with these builds apart from one thing, which I just couldn't resist. I stumbled across these signs that had the Harry Potter houses on, and I just couldn't say no. I couldn't resist it, so I used them in these, but that's the only custom content. But I really enjoyed doing this build. I mean, I enjoy doing any builds anyway. I wouldn't do them if I didn't enjoy them. But this one I particularly enjoyed. It took me the longest time. Doing these rooms took me 2 hours. It took me a really long time. But it was kind of one of those where I just couldn't peel myself away. I just enjoyed it so much. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's because when I think of Harry Potter and, magic in general, really, I'm a sucker for magic. It reminds me of when I was a kid and everything was simple, and no, this isn't a cry for help, but just having simpler times, it makes me feel a little bit warm and fuzzy. And the only way I can describe it, which a lot of people don't get, but the people that know me will get it, is it kind of reminds me of having a hot drink. And I say that because I never drink hot drinks. The only reason I would ever have a hot drink is if it's snowing. So when I think of hot chocolate or tea or coffee even, it just kind of reminds me of being cozy and almost a bit Christmassy. And Christmassy is long gone, but this brought back a little bit of that Christmassy spirit for some reason. I don't know why. But I feel like when I watch Harry Potter, it reminds me of the school experience that I should have had, because I firmly believe that I should have gone to Hogwarts and lived the Harry Potter life, basically. I think I was robbed of the life I should have had. And that's why I love it. And even just even the teachers are cool, in my opinion. When I think about when I went to school, it wasn't it wasn't a bad experience, but there was no magic to it, obviously. I remember me and my friend, my best friend actually, we went to school together. We were in most of the same classes. And we had this teacher who was quite funny because in every single lesson, she would always ask for a pencil. And someone would lend her a pencil and they would never see it again. And then the next lesson, she also would ask for another pencil. So me and my friend became a little bit obsessed with this teacher's need for pencils, to the point where we would just sit there and talk about what on earth is this woman doing with all these pencils. And we kind of got in trouble once because we made a PowerPoint presentation of our teacher taking a bath full of pencils. I mean, you couldn't see anything because she was just, rubbing herself down with loads of pencils. It wasn't it wasn't sexual or anything, but I think that was kind of our theory on what she was doing with all these pencils, and obviously we got detention for that. But she had a Viking hat on as well, funnily enough. I don't know why we did that. Maybe it's because she was a history teacher, so that's why we decided to put a Viking hat on her. But we really thought we were so funny, and when I look back, I just think we were so not funny. So unfunny. But yeah, we just thought we were the comedians of the school. We were the David Brent of our secondary school. But no, we were not that funny at all. And, the sad thing is that I never grew out of it. I never grew out of, being able to deal with situations in a mature way. No matter what position I was in, never grew out of it. I used to be, before I moved to the States, I used to manage a team, a customer service team, and we worked for a big Japanese company. And I remember me and one of the ladies in my team were going to have her appraisal, and I had booked a meeting room, but of course someone was in the meeting room. It was a big problem in the building where I worked, is that people would just book a meeting room for an hour and then they wouldn't fuck off. They would just stay in there. So time had passed and we'd been waiting there for a few minutes, and I was like, okay, well, we need to do something. We can't just stand here. I've got 5 appraisals to do this day. We've got to get it done. So I just went into an empty room that had been booked, but no one was in there. So I assumed that someone had booked it and just left it. But it was a VC room, which is a video conference room. So we're in there and we're having her appraisal. All is going well. And then all of a sudden, there's a man that appears on the screen. It's a video conference call that I guess somehow just automatically got answered. So there's this Japanese guy on the screen looking straight at me and this girl, looking very, very confused. And I'm also not really knowing what to do, because the company where I work, Japanese people are very senior and a little bit intimidating. So the girl in my team just kind of looked at me and was like, what do we do? So I just acted on it, and I just said, get down. And she was like, what? And I was like, let's just get down. So we both went on the floor and crawled out of the meeting room as if this person didn't see us, even though he quite clearly saw us sat there and also saw us crawl on the floor to get out of the meeting room. And then we did. And, the annoying thing was, I was quite a new manager at this point as well. This was a few years ago. I'd only been a manager for a few months. So I'm like crawling out of this meeting room with someone crawling behind me, whilst thinking, yeah, you better respect me. So, I never really grew out of being immature. I don't think I ever really grasped the whole, time to grow up thing. But hey ho, that's life is what you make it, and that's what they say. Anyway, that was the Slytherin Room, and this is the Gryffindor Room. It's I kind of tried to follow a colour scheme, mainly because that was the only way to distinguish the different houses, obviously. I know Gryffindor is red and yellow. It's mainly just red that I've used here, but I have also taken the Harry Potter test. Well, actually, I've taken several Harry Potter tests, and every single time it comes up that I belong in Gryffindor. So my husband's a Ravenclaw, but I've lost count of how many times I do these, like the quizzes. But it's not just Harry Potter. I feel like whenever I'm on my phone, something like Facebook knows I love them, because they'll randomly pop up like, would you like to do this quiz and find out how much of a fussy eater you are? And then you do it, and then there's another one, and then one thing leads to another, and then before I know it, I've been quizzing for like 2 hours just to find out what shape of pasta I am, if I were pasta. But even though I am a Gryffindor, my favourite room in this build is actually Slytherin. I just really like it. I think it's quite a feminine room. It's quite earthy, quite green. So yeah, I probably, even though this should be my room, I'd probably spend most of my time in the Slytherin room, to be honest with you. And I remember the games that they released for Harry Potter. They were fucking brilliant. Those games were my childhood. We were a PlayStation family, so we had it on PlayStation, not PC. Although I have seen some Let's Plays, and I feel a little bit like I've been shortchanged, because the PC version had their actual faces on, like the characters, it had the characters' faces on. I don't know if I'm explaining this in a confusing way, but the PlayStation game just had a random like face that didn't look anything like the characters. But if you like Google it and compare the PC characters to the PlayStation characters in the Harry Potter games, you'll get what I'm talking about. So yeah, I wasn't very impressed, felt a bit shortchanged, but life goes on. But yeah, my brother and I used to play the PlayStation game all the time. We had the first one and the second one. And yeah, it was one of the best games ever. I remember when I was like, I can't even remember how old I was when I came out, so I'm not going to try and guess. But I was going through a period in my life where life was either the Harry Potter game or the Mary-Kate and Ashley game on PlayStation. And that was just everything to me at the time. I think that although all of the Harry Potter films are good, I mean, I've gone to the cinema to see every single one, got excited for every single one, but if I had to answer which one was the best, gun to my head, I would have to say the first one, The Philosopher's Stone, just because the first movie, for me, recaptures the magic every single time. Doesn't matter how old I am, it's just the whole introduction of you're a wizard, Harry, and then I love the scenes when they're on the train for the first time and you see the little snacks they have, like the little magical frog, and then you get to see them go to Diagon Alley for the first time. I love that scene. That is one of the best scenes when they're going around Diagon Alley. Oh, I love it. I went to Diagon Alley the year before last. It's in London. And my friend lives right near King's Cross Station, which if you ever decide to visit London, King's Cross Station actually has platform 9 3/4. If you can, you'd have to go there at like a ridiculous time to be able to actually see it though, because there are always crowds of people around it getting a photo with it. So unless you want to queue for like an hour, then you should probably go at a time where no one's going to be there. But yes, they have platform 9 3/4 at King's Cross Station in London. But they also have Diagon Alley. It's not actually called Diagon Alley, so if you want to see it, you'd probably have to Google it to find out where it is. It is close to King's Cross Station, and it's very beautiful. It's not like a movie set or anything. It is literally just a normal alley. I went around Christmas time and it was really, really pretty. And yeah, I just thought it was really cool because you could easily stumble across it and not even know that that's where it was filmed. So yeah, if you ever decide to go to London, then I would highly recommend going to see Diagon Alley. Don't blame me if it's a bit shit, because I went around Christmas. So if you want it to be extra magical, then go around like December time. One of the things I really regret, though, before we moved to America is that we didn't go to Harry Potter Studio, and I would love to go there. But it's probably, I mean, I'll put it on the agenda for next time we visit home, then we'll go to Harry Potter Studio. But it's a bit of a shame because it used to be on my doorstep and now it isn't. But yeah, again, if you're a Harry Potter fan and you ever go to London, go to Harry Potter Studio because I've heard it's amazing. But yeah, I feel like Harry Potter will always stand the test of time because it's, I mean, the last movie was shown quite a few years ago now, and like it's still really, really popular. Even kids that were born after the first movie came out are still like proper into Harry Potter. So I think that Harry Potter is going to stand the test of time, and it will be one of those movies that every child is obliged to see. Kind of like The Labyrinth. That came out in the 80s, and I wasn't alive in the 80s, but I remember watching it several times because it's one of those films you have to watch it. If you can't tell, this is the Hufflepuff Room. It's very yellow. I tried really hard to give every single room like something slightly different, but also something slightly the same. So they all have that brick wall, or stone wall, sorry, somewhere in the rooms, so that they have like that thing in common, and they're all a bit magical. But I was finding it hard to give them all their own accent on it. So I tried to be creative with like the room layouts and stuff so that they were all different, and I'm quite happy with it. I think it turned out okay, which is quite nice for me, because usually I'll build something and think, oh, that looks alright, and I'll upload it anyway, but I am actually quite pleased with how these rooms turned out. I mean, I would ideally like to build the whole of Hogwarts, but I'm just not. I am nowhere near good enough to be able to do that, and I think I definitely wouldn't be able to do it justice, which is a shame because Hogwarts is very beautiful, but yeah, it's definitely not not within my skill set to build something like that. So that's actually how I ended up deciding just to do the rooms, because I really wanted to do something Harry Potter themed, but obviously not build the whole of Hogwarts. So yeah, I thought maybe just doing a room for each house is probably the best way to go. But yeah, I kind of set it up so it would look a little bit like, not a camp, but so that they weren't just boxes, or that they weren't just in one building. So I kind of set up my own version of like a miniature Hogwarts, which is just this little like camp area where there's a room for each house, which is looking like a little stony hut. But again, I tried to make the huts themselves, or the little houses themselves, a bit different, but also the same accent, like the same style build, but they all have different coloured doors, different colour trims, just to try and make them a bit unique in their own way. So yeah, this is the Ravenclaw Room. Obviously, by the time I got round to doing this one, I'm not gonna lie, I was already like almost 2 hours into recording. So my creativity was wearing thin. So although I do like all of the rooms, I think this is probably my least favourite room, just because I put the least amount of time into it, and I had pretty much ran out of ideas, which you could probably tell just because I've done it as a simple rectangle room rather than trying to give it any odd shapes or odd little features from the way it's been built. But I mean, yeah, I still think it looks alright, but it's my least favourite of all the rooms. I also built this in Glimmerbrook because I thought, of all places, of all worlds, Glimmerbrook is probably the most applicable, what with it being the magical world and all. So it's built in Glimmerbrook. And the funny thing is, I'm not really into mixing occults with The Sims. Like, I've never played with like magical beings in The Sims before, even if they've been included in the game. Like, I never play with aliens. I sometimes play with mermaids, but only for about 5 minutes. I've never played with like the witches and wizards in the previous game. But for some reason, when Glimmerbrook came out, I just saw it and I was like, oh yes. For some reason, it really reminds me of Harry Potter. So yeah, Glimmerbrook is the first occult-like game for The Sims that I have actually played for hours and hours, and I'm still not bored of it. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. It's one of my favourite game packs. Also, I really enjoy watching other people do Hogwarts-inspired rooms. I've seen some a while ago. When I had an idea to try and do something like this, I deliberately tried to not watch any, just because I didn't want to accidentally like copy someone or steal someone's idea, because I would have watched it and thought, oh, that's really good. So after I have finished this, well, now that I've finished it, I can actually go and watch a load of videos of building these, because I could spend hours just watching someone build a Gryffindor room, a Slytherin room, again and again and again. So if you are watching this and you have done something similar, then leave a link, because I genuinely would love to to watch it. But there we go, we're coming towards the end of the video now, just putting some of the finishing touches on the Ravenclaw room, but I'm really glad I did this. I genuinely really enjoyed doing this build. I mean, like I said, I enjoy doing builds anyway, but this is definitely one of my favourite things to do. So yeah, I really enjoyed doing it, and I hope you enjoy watching it. So if you did enjoy watching it, then please like and subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video if you decide to watch the next video. And that's it. Have a good day. Bye bye.